Keep playing.
Welcome back to another episode of Eagles Weekly. Here are your hosts, Brett, Haas, Mac, and Jack. How we feeling, fellas?
Another successful intro.
Let's go.
Welcome back to episode 15, right? 15?
15. We're doing it.
Let me get the energy back up. Welcome back to episode 15, Eagles Weekly. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Ryder, joined today by international marketing guru Mac Hutchinson. And that's it. But that's okay. That's all we need.
I like it, Brett. I like
that's
it.
all we need. The duo's here.
The Brett and Mac show, number one.
Happy episode. This is a happy episode.
Super happy. Super,
Yeah,
I'd say thankful episode. We got Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to the BC nation, BC community here. Man, dude, I can't be more thankful for not only everything that's going on in my life, but BC football, BC basketball, BC hockey. It feels like the momentum's here with the entire, a lot of programs in BC, but specifically, let's talk about BC football. I mean, that was one of the most dominant wins we've seen in the past 5 years. And
I think since 2019.
Dude, we haven't blown out an ACC team since 2018, I think, Brett.
I think it was Syracuse.
Just
they did
super pumped, man.
Yeah.
I tweeted this out where, we remember the glory days of Tom O'Brien, and Al Skinner, and that felt like a Tom O'Brien win where you just
sure,
a good team comes into your house, you're expected to lose, and you just dominate from the beginning, from the snap. And that's what it felt like. And I felt super confident coming out of that because you're just you're so confident in this coaching staff, this program, where it's going, and to have such a dominant win, blow out an ACC Power 4 opponent like that, in your own home, in front of the faithful, even though it was cold and wet, which is awesome to see.
It's funny because I tweeted out Boston College today looks like we thought they were halfway through or through halftime against UVA, right? That was a football team that we kind of had come accustomed to for the first, 5.5 games or whatever it was up at that point. They were rolling on offense. They were getting, they shut UNC down on defense. The only score that, UNC had in the first half was, the kick return touchdown, which also kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? As dominant as we were to still have
some special team blunder.
Yeah, that's,
BC tradition, you got to have that.
When you're blowing out teams like that, or when you're dominating teams like that, I should say, you're able to kind of give those up and laugh about them, as opposed to in the past where that was kind of our downfall. But overall, that was very. That might be the most impressive win of the year, maybe.
I think so. So.
Yeah.
The only one you kind of look at is Florida State, but it's then you look at Florida State now, and you're that was a gimme. And you talk about the special teams, though. Besides that one blunder, all the credit in the world to Liam Connor. He's doing kicking, punting, kickoff. He got two for that first field goal, 49-yard kick, incredible. And then also just
not expecting that to go in either.
No. And then we got the punting seemed like it was coming along as well. So that was positive to see. But again, the defense probably. This is the thing that I took the biggest thing I took away was Tim Lewis's defense and what he was able to do with this limited, the limited players he has with, Amari Jackson out. You had Max Tucker out. You had Cam Arnold out. You had all these people with experience that you didn't have there. And all these guys like Joe Marinaro stepping up. Tim Lewis
to pronounce.
literally getting this team to step up when they had the least amount of depth the whole season was incredible to see. Blitzing on almost half of the snaps, getting pressure, 7 sacks on the day, a couple interceptions or 3 interceptions. technically. That was awesome to see the coaching staff, Tim Lewis specifically, getting them to buy in and raise their level of play, even with limited depth and limited players at his disposal, was huge, man. He's been consistent all year, and to see him really like kind of take it all. This was honestly could have been 41-0. They held them to 14 points, but those 14 points were at the end of the game, like kind of almost like just like garbage time touchdowns. So they dominated the whole game. It was incredible.
I mean, the fact that Hampton had 1,475 yards on the season, and I think he had over 1,400 yards coming into the game, and they held him to 53. I think, and they were talking about on the broadcast. He needed 78 yards to get to some sort of I don't know if it was like a record or whatever it was, but whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe it was to get to, I forget what it was, but that was kind of the whole talk, is that they were really looking to keep him below that, which, seemed like a tall task and maybe a little too wasn't going to happen. I can't even think of the word for it. But they did. They kept him in check. I mean, they shut him down to the point where they really had to abandon the run game. I mean, they only had, as a team, 25 rushing attempts for the game, 36 yards in total for this like vaunted rushing attack, which we talked about it last week, just how dominant they are on the ground to do that and to really put it in Chris Wells' hands. It's just it was super. It was just so impressive, just the way that they were scoring at will, the different ways that they were scoring, and just the way that they were able to bottle UNC up on defense. It was just phenomenal, and like just the way they were doing it on defense.
That's huge. There, it's like you were saying, holding Hampton to like the whole team to 36 yards when they previously against Wake Forest the week before had over like 250 yards rushing. Like, just like shows you how well this defense is coming together. And then you flip it to the offense though, and to have the most balanced from start to finish performance there, and not just like dominant, but like balanced. We thought run the damn ball from the beginning of the game, but then as they were going, it was like, no, pass the damn ball. Really, to
Mike Tomorrow. Shout out to Mike Tomorrow.
Shout out to Mike Eagles Daily. But like seriously, it was like, okay, screw the rushing game. Let's sling it here, and buy stock now. Reed Harris, man, those three connections, incredible. Lewis Bond. It seems like he's not missing Tommy at all. Over 80 yards catching there. It's just incredible passing game. You can see all those criticisms we had for Will Long and the play calling. It's obvious now that when he has the right quarterback, that entire play call, that entire playbook is to his disposal. He's making all the right decisions there. They even had a screen pass for the first time. I mean, I'm telling you, this offense is clicking on cylinders now, and it's clear not only week to week, but that from last week how much of a progression that Grayson has made. Grayson James. I mean, in the pocket, you could see how poised he was. His decision making too, like you could see him through his progressions. Being able to make the reads, but then also when he was getting pressure, knowing when to step forward, when to step out, when to throw the out route was incredible to watch. Really, and something we haven't seen all season.
Yeah, it's funny too because when all the Tommy stuff was happening, especially in the immediate aftermath, I was a little bit worried about Lewis Bond and, whether, what his production was going to look like going forward. Cause he's had a weird season up to this point too. And, his rapport with Tommy, obviously it's his, was his roommate, so I wasn't sure if, maybe he was going to have one foot out and, he wasn't going to be as dialed in, but, it looks like he's just as committed, to this team and, this season as anyone. So that's definitely a positive. And then, like we've talked about with Reed Harris, you really can't discount the fact that Grayson and Reed have been playing and practicing together all damn season long, right? Like they were working a lot of second teams together. So, I mean, you look at it like this, Tommy was a square peg in a round hole, we're seeing that, I think we were seeing before that the Tommy of last year, as effective as it was, I don't think that was ever going to get you to levels that Bill O'Brien's looking to get this team to, and that the offensive play calling and the philosophy and the schemes that him and Lying are kind of working with now can get you to that next level. And it just takes a different type of skill set at quarterback.
Yeah, dude.
What you're seeing.
I think that Tommy is great when there's no system in place. I feel like under Halfley, that offense was like, okay, Tommy, do your best, get a first down.
Like,
and
he
then
is the system,
And then under Bill O'Brien is like, he has a clear philosophy and system, and he demands a lot of his core. I mean, this is a guy that worked with, Heisman winners, Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. Like, he's asking like you to like not just like be physically able, but like mentally, and intellectually be able to understand what he's asking. And I think it was just too much to ask of Tommy to do that. That's not the type of player he is. And it's amazing that Grayson's been able to, kind of pick this up. And it was interesting though, because I we heard on the broadcast that Grayson apparently had won the starting quarterback position, in the off season, but because he was out for 6 weeks in preseason, and again, this is not confirmed, but this was said by Steve Smith on the broadcast. That's the reason why Tommy got, those starts in the beginning of the year. And I kind of, it makes sense. And a shout out to Kevin Stone of, New England Journal, because he was kind of on this, where it does make sense. Like the pocket passer, not just the pocket passer, but someone that is able to not only pass it really quick and have the skill ability, but to be able to, that's just the type of, quarterback you are, like intellectually, and being able to read, the different sequences. So it's obvious that Grayson fits this mold better, fits his system better. And, if this keeps up, man, we're looking at potential 7-8 win season here. And then you're going to the offseason, like, man, that dire need for a transferred quarterback, it still exists, but man, it's not a super, it's going to be a legit competition in the offseason, it seems. So, and if Grayson keeps performing like this, man, he might be the future of this this program.
If those reports are true that Grayson really beat him out in camp or whatever, the only thing I will say is whichever quarterback that they send to ACC Media Day is fucked, right? Because like Moorhead was sent last year. Tommy was sent this year. Yeah, don't send quarterbacks because it's fucking cursed. That's an interesting nugget. I mean, how much you want to, believe or, play into that is, for me, it's kind of like a fun thing to kind of speculate on,
Yeah, right.
I'm all about conspiracy theories. I think conspiracy theories are fun. It's good to talk about, the what if, and, we're here now, like now we're seeing, Grayson James play. Grayson Allen's not a nice guy. But we're seeing Grayson James in real time do what, supposedly the coaching staff had saw back in August. So that's fun to think about, and I guess the only what if we really have is, if he was actually playing the full season, like how would that have played out? But I mean, that's neither here nor there, because at the end of the day, man, like they're at 6-5. They have a chance to go to 7-5, potentially 8. It's there for the taking. So, it's kind of in the here and now. Like, what are you going to do to close out the season? And I think if you told us that, when Tommy got benched with 3 games left, if you said that Grayson James was going to win 2 out of those 3 games, and we were going to get to a bowl game at 7-5, I would take that. And I'd probably call you crazy.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I didn't like, it's I put something out the other day because I'm not so here's a little backstory, right? When the Red Sox were down 0-3 in 2004, if anyone tells you that's right, sign Soto. But if anyone tells you that oh yeah, I still believed, you're a fucking liar.
Yeah,
None of
no.
us believed. None of us believed. We all thought it was over, right?
Maybe after game 5, we believe.
Sure, but like not when they
Not
were
after
down
game 3.
0-3 when they lost like 19-8. But
Right.
my point with all that is I didn't have I didn't have faith in Grayson that he was going to come in and be as successful as he has been. And Kevin saw it, and Kevin was there first and foremost. And Kevin's also, let's be real, he's a fucking maniac. Shout out Kevin Stone.
Yeah, he lives at Alumni Stadium in Foxborough.
He's amazing. He's amazing, and that's why he's one of the best in the business. Which we got to get him on here. By the way, he was mad. He got mad at me.
We'll get Kevin on soon.
But outside of Kevin, and Kevin deserves the victory lap, 100%. Like I would never, but I didn't see it. I don't think any of us did. You know what I mean? And like, I had people sending me shit in my DMs. Like, dude, I owned up to it. Like, I owned up to it. Like, I didn't see it. Like, I honest to God thought it was like kind of like a kid who, listen, you need bodies, right? Okay, so like this kid maybe halfway saw something. Yeah, come on in. Kind of similar to when Tommy came in. Like, no one expected Tommy to play.
Nobody knew, man. Nobody knew. And the nice and all we can say
is, didn't know.
All we can say is now we know, man. And not only for Grayson, but for understanding Bill O'Brien. Like now we know, this is the type of quarterback. We're going to need someone that throws. We're going to need someone that's intelligent. And we're going to need someone not only that's mature, but that's not going to quit on this team. And like, it's always going to be loyal. Like, I think Bill O'Brien clearly is one of those guys that really, really needs you to be loyal. And buy in, because it is about belief and buying into a system here.
And he has just enough athletic ability, right? Like it's not like he doesn't set the world on fire with his feet. He's not super fast or mobile or anything like that, but he's got just enough to where you do have to keep yourself honest with a guy like that.
I got it. You're saying how speculation's fun. I think podcasts are good for speculation, to be honest.
Sure.
I expect us, and I probably want us to not talk about Tommy after this podcast because we're moving forward. But just to kind of wrap it up here, the quote of the week, and this was kind of a hot take where, and I'll give credit to Andrea Kramer from CBS Sports. She got a quote from Bill O'Brien this week.
Great quote.
And I'll tell the entire quote. 99% of our guys are tough and smart. Thomas Castellanos was an outlier at BC. And this was the quote in which, in the context, she was also upset about Tommy quitting on the team, asking Bill O'Brien, and then for Bill to really say, hey, this entire team is tough and smart, but Tommy was not. It's kind of in my take is I think he was trying to say, hey, obviously my team's, this isn't a reflection of the team. My team's loyal. They're tough. They're smart. But it is a huge, huge diss to Tommy, and rightly so, because at the end of the day, this guy did quit on his team. And when he brought him in man-to-man that Sunday and said, hey, Tommy, we're going with Grayson. You will have your turn to earn it, but, it's your time to pick up the clipboard and be a man. And he instead walked away and quit. And in that moment, knowing Bill O'Brien and interacting with him this whole year, the second Tommy wasn't like, hey, I'm there for you, coach, he was done with him. And I think that's where this quote comes from. Like, he's like upset that like he invested so much into this guy. And then like, when like things are down, when all the chips are on the table and like, you're not winning, this kid quit and he wasn't there. And like, I think in times of like, loss and times of like, animosity and all these, there's going to be tough times at BC. For a kid to quit in that time, it's like that we can't have that at BC. And I think for Bill, that's what that quote was for me. But I don't know. I wanted to kind of, this is obviously speculation. We don't know what Bill is really trying to say, but that's the hot quote of the week. I just wanted to kind of hear your thoughts too, Brett.
Well, it's pretty funny when you look at from like the first game of the year when Tommy was on top of the world talking about, really hyping up BC. I got class tomorrow. I go to Boston College, and everyone was loving that. To like this, where it's like, oh, he was the outlier at BC. Like he's not one of us. And like, by the way, like I love how you said earn it. Like imagine if Bill O'Brien hit him with the hashtag. He's like, listen, young man.
Yeah, I think I posted that quote with the hashtag earn it because that really is the mantra of it. It's like, dude, like he literally brought you into his office man to man and said, hey, like we're going with great. Like I love both of you guys, but we're going with Grayson. Like you still have your opportunity to earn it, and then
it wasn't unfounded. It's not like Tommy was playing all right or they were coming off a win or something. They lost 3 games in a row, and like Tommy was actively lose his 4th game in a row, and they were all in like more embarrassing fashion. That was the thing, and the offense was getting worse and worse and worse. You know, it was, at the second half of UVA was awful. Outside of the third quarter of Virginia Tech, awful. And then even when they were up 20-0 in the first half against Louisville, a lot of it was because of turnovers from the defense. Right? Like it wasn't that he was setting the world or the offense was setting the world on fire even in that game. Like they struggled, and he struggled in that game.
And it's just to not put your trust in Bill, like it's been clear now after 2 games, that was the right decision by far. This clearly Bill made that decision for the team. It's clearly the right decision for the team. Mm-hmm. And then I just feel bad too, because I understand these kids are like 20, 21 years old and money's being thrown at them, and there's who knows who's in his ear. Yeah. But at the same time, to like, if you're trying to go to another team, it's like to quit on your team, like just do the right thing, take the clipboard, be on the sidelines, support your team for 3 games, and then go afterward. I think you would have the full support of this BC community behind you. Yeah. But when you quit with 3 games left, it just shows you like a person's true colors. And I don't want to like harp on him personally, but it really shows like where college football is at. And you remember. You know, Matthew Sluka, quitting like 3 games into the season. It kind of shows you like there's a huge problem in college football right now with NIL and the transfer portal. When there's no governing body, there's no union for players, all the interests and all the parties aren't working together for the best thing for the college, for college football, for the sport itself. And then you have players that are getting paid with no contracts. Like, it's going to lead to players, and I feel bad. Like, if this ends up being where maybe Tommy doesn't get the place where he wants to go because he's making decisions that maybe not in his best interest. So it's just a frustrating thing to see for someone that's a fan of college football, because there's a clear need for regulation or some governing body. And then for players like this, young players that are, maybe end up with worse opportunities because of money and because of like they're so young and no one's looking out for them.
Yeah. And it kind of brings me back to, like for the Tommy situation, at least, right? Like, look at Claudell Harris and Devin McLaughlin.
Straight up.
Yeah. We hate watch Claudell Harris because of the way he left, and we still glorify and love Devin McLaughlin. Whereas with Tommy, it's like if Tommy stuck around, held the clipboard for 3 games, and who knows, maybe what if he got the spot back, right? Like, what if you earned it?
There's still 2 games left in the season. Like,
and he, so say he leaves, he would have been Devin McLaughlin, and we all would have been praising him wherever he went next. Now he's our Claudell Harris, and now we're gonna hate watch him. I don't want to say hate watch. I have zero hate again's Claudell. I'm just looking around.
No, zero hate for these players, but it does matter though what you're saying, Brett. Like, it does matter how it's like, it's kind of like in business. It's like you never like leave like a relationship on a bad note, right? You always shake the hand. So like walk out swearing. It's almost kind of like that, where it's like the closure is like, what do you do? Man, this has been good this whole time, and then you just kind of like leave without saying anything. It's like kind of,
especially the what this school did for him and the things he said while he was here, right?
That and the fact that they were paying them all this money, giving them a car and all these different things. Like it's that weird space where it's like, yeah, they're student athletes, but honestly, this is a professional sport where it's moving closer to a full-on professional sport. Yeah. We're in this little like intermediate purgatory world where it's like, is it a professional sport? Is it not? Am I getting paid professionally, or am I not? And the fact that he because he was one of the top, if not top paid player on BC, it just seemed even more. It's like, hey, we're paying you all this money. You're saying all these right things about BC. Yeah. And then to leave kind of like on that note, it's just a frustrating thing for fans, and obviously for the coach, for Bill O'Brien, I assume too.
And the thing with Bill O'Brien too is it's like Bill O'Brien gets paid and this is his job, and it's a performance-based job.
Mhm.
Tommy Castellanos had a job, he was getting paid, and it was a performance-based job. So it's like for Bill O'Brien, he needed to do something in order to get enough, to get positive results. Like he can't sit around. He couldn't afford, first of all, he couldn't afford to lose 4 games in a row.
No.
And like that was going to turn into 5. So now you're looking at what they would have been, 4 and 6,
Mhm.
and then they would have had to win these last 2 games. Like that's a big difference, right?
And it's
Especially
simple.
if
It's
they
like
started 4-1 and they
if
should have started 5-1.
like you said with Bill, this is his job, and you got to do your job, and there's accountability. If you're not performing, we're going to give someone else the opportunity. And it's really amazing to see that not only with the quarterback position, but everywhere else you could see this. Like even with McDonald. McDonald is a perfect example. Him being on that practice team and on the 3rd and 4th team, and then working himself up. You see Ryan Turner on the defense.
Yep.
Practice team. There's people get injured, and then you're given that opportunity, and then he gets that pick 6, on Saturday against UNC. This comes from culture. This comes all the way from the top, and that's Bill O'Brien down to the other coaches. And it's amazing to see throughout offense, defense, special teams, where it's like the next man up. And like everyone says this, right? Like every team says this, but that it's amazing to actually finally see it. It's like Halfley talked about all these things, and then to finally see Bill O'Brien come in here and actually implement it with the right coaching and actually doing it and like giving the players opportunities and then them stepping up. It's been amazing to see, honestly, in the last couple of games.
It's so funny too, because with Jordan McDonald, someone was like, fucking asshole. Someone was like, oh, like we should put him on ice for the rest of the year so we don't burn his red shirt. I don't give a fuck about his red shirt.
Dude, we need him now. We don't have depth.
Give a fuck about your red shirt. Figure it out next year. First of all, he comes back next year. You think he fucking cares either? No,
man.
He doesn't care.
Dude, he's getting his opportunities right now, and honestly, like,
great.
It's just cool. You have down the list though. You have Ashton McShane stepping up too. It's incredible to see. And another shout out I'll say on the defense, KP Price, 9 tackles. Had a tackle for loss, had a sack. Again, obviously Azaraku had 2 sacks, incredible. The Joe Marinaro sack too. That was he had 2 athletic plays. It was the sack that he blitzed completely from the linebacker position, but then also that pick right before the second half. It was going to be a close game. That was a game changer, man. Yeah. Athletic pick, and then we end up scoring a touchdown, go up like 24-7 into halftime. Yeah. That was huge, man. That was like these guys are stepping up, and then for Marinaro, like to be a walk-on, which is another thing that Bill O'Brien talked about this week, because they're having to go down to 105 players next year, which is going to be tragic for walk-on players. But that's what college football is all about. We all remember Steve Aponovicius on BC. Yeah. He was a walk-on too. Like that's a real big part of college football. To see Joe be a walk-on a couple years ago, then get that opportunity, and then to be such a game changer in that UNC game. That's why I think college football is like one of the best sports to watch. Is like those type of stories, and then the way Bill understands that and why that's so special in college football, and giving players that step up and perform throughout the week those opportunities is just everything, man.
And same with Omar Thornton. Omar Thornton's getting time now too in the secondary.
Dude, another one right there. And then again, we talked about Turner too, coming from Ohio State, and then him finally having that opportunity and then turning out to be, a stud there. It's just, again, to do this without your star players.
Yep. I didn't think about that.
Huge.
I honestly didn't even correlate that. Yep, you're 100% correct, dude. That's so right. It's awesome, man. And then you look at like Cam Martinez is, really kind of coming into his own and playing well in the secondary, which he's been playing all year, but he's really starting to come into his own. So there's a lot of guys out there that weren't getting a lot of run early in the year that are coming out and they're playing well. And it's nice to see that they have some good depth. it's good that we're not sitting here and we're just like, man, I miss this guy, I miss that guy,
Yeah.
miss him,
No, everyone
Um,
stepped up, if not performed even better. And
yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
I think for us to sit here 6-5, going into the final home game, potential for 7 wins for the first time since 2018.
Yeah.
If they win this game Saturday, they
Uh-huh.
have a chance to win their 8th game in a bowl game, which is the first time they get to 8 wins since 2009. Which I don't even know. A lot of BC fans watching this probably don't even remember that, or maybe weren't old enough to remember that. But like that was a long time ago, man.
It was.
2009, 8
How,
wins. So
how old are you in like November
2009, I
2009?
think I was a sophomore in high school or something like that. Like,
I was 19.
yeah, I was in high school. So I
Yeah.
think for me, dude, it's like that's such a long. I mean, we've been mediocre for over a decade. We haven't gotten above 7 wins. So that's, I mean, first season for Bill O'Brien, for that to be reasonably on the table is huge. Just all positive things, man. It's great that we can talk about this in a positive way. I think.
Yeah. It's nice too when you can talk about a game as a whole, and there's not like a lot of criticism or any negative things to really say, and it really feels like we talked about it off the air that they have a chance, which they haven't done in years, to really end the season on a high note, which they haven't done. I mean, what was it? What I say? 2017 was the last time they won the last 2 games of the year. I think it was 2017 or something like
to finish
that.
strong. Yeah.
But like if you look back at the past couple of years, they've lost, at least 1 or 2, sometimes 3 to end the season. So to get to 7-5, and I made this point too, to get to, if you get to 7-5 and even say you lose the bowl game and you're 7-6, that 7-6 does feel, it's all about feel. It does feel a lot better than last year's 7-6.
Dude, how you finish the season is everything, because I think with Bill O'Brien, he comes from like the Bill Belichick way, right? It doesn't matter at the beginning of the season. It's what you are at the end of the season, right?
Right.
Like, how much have you grown? And the fact that we've seen that growth, especially in the last 2 games, if you're able to finish strong, that just shows, it gives so much momentum, more than the record. It's how you finish those last couple games and the momentum into the offseason, and which will be Bill O'Brien's first offseason as a head coach at Boston College. So he gets to go after that transfer portal. He gets to do that first recruiting class. If you have that momentum, just thinking like if you're 7-6 or maybe 8-5 even, that momentum going into that and being able to recruit, it's really amazing. Because I asked Bill O'Brien today about like the college football playoff, and what's just so refreshing when you're talking to him is that he gets it, right? He's been around the block. He's coached in the NFL. He's coached, high at the Alabama, Penn State. He's coached at the high level. He understands like the college football playoff, where the ACC stands, where the SEC stands. He literally talked about where the ACC conference is as a whole, in the playoff. He was watching the college football rankings last night, and he was saying how a 3-loss SEC team really shouldn't get into the playoff over a 1 or 2-loss ACC team. And he understands like that is the conversation that's happening right in college football, but it's exciting because we're in a conference, right, that potentially might have 2 or 3 teams in the playoff. And if you think from the BC perspective, the future for BC, man, we don't have to have a perfect season now to potentially compete for a national championship. You could have 1-2 losses, compete for an ACC championship, compete for a national championship. And that's very possible. And now that you have Bill O'Brien here, who understands what you need and the standard you need to get to that level. So that's not going to happen overnight. But the fact that you have a college football head coach that understands that, acknowledges that, and is aware of like what needs to happen to make that happen is just, not only refreshing, but exciting to look forward to.
It's definitely a different mentality, and one that we haven't seen here in a while. And you can kind of see it through all the players. It's funny because even on like the other side, I mean, can we talk about the fact that we just retired Mac Brown?
Man, when I saw that, man, I immediately tweeted. I was like, look what BC did to Mac Brown, who's a Hall of Fame, amazing coach, but like obviously clear at the end of his career. it's that's kind of also seemed like a bizarre move, like when like with Tommy kind of quitting. It's like, why don't you just let him? I think there was like rumors that he might even like coach in the next game or two. It's like, just let him retire or like make it. I don't know why they're making him quit there, but yeah, the fact that they had to make that statement after a blowout win against Bill O'Brien was kind of funny.
Yeah. Which shout out to my friend Grace. She just replied on Twitter, but she goes to UNC, and I like messaged her after the game. I was like, yeah, I'm like sorry about that. She's like, no, I should be thanking you, when they fired him. So shout out to Grace. She's great. Shout out to the Heels. At least they got basketball. So, it's, we
they do have basketball. That's good, but I mean, again, UNC, man, we hadn't beat them, I think, in the ACC since we like got here. So that was just like a huge something like that, or at least at home, I believe we had never.
No, I think you're right. Actually, let me look it up. But
something crazy like that. So, like, I think that was a huge deal, and but it kind of shows you where the program's going. Like, it almost was like the kind of a dig at BC. The fact like the UNC like program was like, you lost to Boston College, we're gonna fire you. But it's like times are changing, man. I think BC, we're ascending here, and just thinking about. I kind of wanted to talk. Have you looked at the bowl game, projections, Brett, for Boston College?
A little bit. Not. I try not to get too much into it right now, but I definitely do. But real quick before letting you cook on that. So you are 100% correct. So UNC beat BC in 2005.
Yeah.
And then they beat them in 2008 and 2009, which is weird because it says it was vacated. I wonder if they had some sort of scandal. 2013 and then 2020 they beat us. So yeah, I mean we were what?
Yeah, since joining the conference, we had never beat them.
5. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so that's cool. That's awesome. So we shout out to us for breaking the trend. That's good. That's what we need to do.
Man. Breaking the trends, and like it's just a huge win, man. Just like a blowout win like that at home was just a great watch. Just not only for the fans, but it was just a proof of concept for this coaching staff.
It was a fun game too. It was just a fun game overall. It was, I don't know. There wasn't a lot to be upset about for sure.
Yeah, I'm just looking ahead to just obviously if they get the 7th win, it's a huge difference, I think, in like the potential bowl scenarios as well. Like I was just looking at, for me personally, obviously the Annapolis Bowl is kind of like really attractive because I could drive down there. I used to go to school in DC, so that would be huge. And then obviously the Bronx, because we have a huge alumni, obviously in New York City. So playing at Yankee Stadium is never fun, but like just for the alumni and being able to go down there, that might work out. But I think it would be nice to go to a Tampa game. I think there's a game down in Tampa, the Gasparilla Bowl. That would be nice for fans. I think Tampa's like a quick flight as well. So there's some speculation. It's all speculation, but I think just again getting to a bowl game, which is what's going to happen, to potentially get a 7th, 8th win. Man, what momentum going into that off season.
I mean the Gasparilla Bowl or the Military Bowl. Would be preference for me. Strictly, I just don't want to play on a baseball field again. I hate playing. I hate playing in the baseball.
Give us a warm weather bowl for the first time, dude.
When's the last time we had a warm weather? Remember
I don't know. There was like 3 that like got canceled in a row. Remember? And then we had like a COVID one. Like,
remember playing the Cotton Bowl and they canceled it after the first quarter?
Dude, there was like 3-4 years in a row where like we were bowl eligible, but like didn't play. Like it was like,
it
was a rough patch there.
2020 and 2021,
which I don't think people know. I think this is the stat. I think we've been bowl eligible 8 of the last 9 years.
Yeah.
So again, consistently mediocre, but it seems like we have an opportunity to maybe finally break that threshold, which has been holding us down since forever, dude. Like, I don't know.
Consistently mediocre. What are we in those bowl games? We're like what, 2-2 whatever.
Yeah, we need to be better, but I remember that Tom O'Brien streak we had. It was like 9 or 11 bowl games wins in a row. That was a fun time.
Dude, we were winning bowl games and we had like 1,000-yard rushers every single. We had like some crazy streak of 1,000-yard rushers. Remember that too?
That was wild.
We just ran the rock and won games. That shit was fun as fuck. I was like a kid. That shit was so fun.
Dude, that's what got me, man. Watching Tom O'Brien and the Herzlich days and the Matty Ice days, and then it was just a good time to be a BC football fan. I think Bill O'Brien's a fan himself. Like, he understands that's kind of like what we need to get back to. Just a consistent team that wins 8-9, has 8-9 wins every year, but like every once in a while has a magical season where you could compete for a national championship.
Like, dude, they can fucking do that. That's the thing. Like it can be done.
This amazing Boston sports town supports that. When they win consistently, fans show up and they sell out Alumni Stadium.
Yeah.
And TV ratings are off the wall because we have one of the best sports markets in the world. So again, that's all possible. It's been done before, and I think it's clearly trending in that direction, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's definitely nice, and it definitely feels a lot better. Isn't it weird how the tide changes super quick too? Like, when we were 4-1, we were riding high. Then we lost a couple games, and we were like, "Oh fuck, we're not going to win it."
Dude,
I'm going to keep it on me. I was saying we're not going to win a game the rest of the year, and now we're like feeling good again, talking about how we can, No,
but it's been a roller coaster, and like honestly, it's been either Delulu bread or it's been like everything's falling out, like the sky's falling. But like, I think everyone's gonna have that. At the beginning of the year, you're like, holy shit, are we going to be in the college football playoff? And then you lose a couple.
I didn't think we were going to lose. I thought we were going 11-1.
And then it became literally, are we going to even go to a bowl game? Like, are we going to get a fifth win? And then now it's like, oh damn, like 7-8 wins. It's looking real nice. So yeah, again, the expectation game is like, it's always going to be nuts. But I think, again, how you finish the season is everything. Yeah. Because it's a long off season. And so that's where championships are built. That's where if you want to compete in the ACC at a high level, that's where it all happens. The transfer portal, how you fund your NIL, how you kind of organize the ground grassroots for that. And then your recruiting, which is like, again, Bill said this throughout the year. Every single day he's making a recruiting call. Like he's talking to kids every day.
Yeah.
It's a 365 job. And the fact that they have a really decent class coming in and it's going to be his first class, it's going to be huge to have that momentum kind of going into this first full off season for sure.
It's interesting too, when you kind of look at the trajectory of it, kind of like you said, it's like the lasting impression of what, a season can do for you. If you ended on a high note or a low note, and it's like, I would say the last like month, it's like last year they lost 3 games in a row, and they won the Fenway Bowl, which was nice, and that was like a nice little consolation and made you feel better about the fact that they were 7-6. But overall, it wasn't like it wasn't like that great of you didn't really feel that good about it.
Yeah, I feel you. Again, it's that how you finish thing, right? It's like we had the peak was the path, and that was like in the middle of the season, right? When
and that was like it was like a 2-week thing.
But now it's like you need that at the end of the year. You need to be talking about like that streak and potential at the end. Yeah. And I feel like that's where the momentum is. It's like when people are starting to talk about bowl games and like 7-8 wins for the first time since who knows when. Yeah. That's like more important than the path. It's like that's setting you up for a potential, not just the path where it's like some outlandish like dream. It's like, no, it's setting you up for like actually being able to compete at that level.
I think they need that, they need that monkey off their back too, of that 8 wins. Like they just have to fucking do it.
Shed that like, 6-7 win crap. You got to shed that. Like you have an opportunity, shed that now.
It's been a thing for 15, Jesus Christ, 15 fucking years now. You know, that's a long time. Like there's a lot of BC fans that don't know anything else and they just assume that like that is what it is, you know. And you look at
Yeah.
people like us who were accustomed to 8-9 win seasons minimum, you know, and it's like they just don't know what that is, you know.
Right.
And it's like at the 8, and to be honest with you,
You need 8 wins at minimum, to be honest.
an 8-5 season, like back in the Tom O'Brien era, was like kind of a bad year.
Yeah, that's what
right. You like that was like kind of a shit year. Like if you went 8-5, it was like, dude, fuck, like we didn't do good.
You think about that too, where like the fans' expectations were then, and then think about all the championships that Boston has seen since then.
Yeah,
it's like fans aren't going to show up for less than an 8-win season. Like you got to compete and consistently be getting those wins, potentially get into double-digit wins for fans to really grow this fan base, to really get non-alumni involved in this program and to show up. And I think that's when you really got to you get to build culture, not just internally but externally with fans and the tailgate and all that. So that's the expectation, and it's really, again, Bill O'Brien understands that. He's a Boston guy. He talks about this consistently. So, you know, for that to be on the horizon and to be very realistic opportunity in the coming years is just, you know, fun for us as fans that we saw that it was possible with the other O'Brien era. And it's kind of like the O'Brien era is back, you know, literally. And we hope that it's kind of as consistent or, you know, maybe even better.
Not for nothing, Tom O'Brien's son is on the staff.
He's doing a good job too. The staff,
linebacker coach, right?
Yeah, he's doing a real good job.
Yeah, the bang up job. To be honest with you, he's doing a bang up job. I'll tell you that much.
The most limited core group.
Yeah, and they've been one of the more effective units on the team all year.
That, and looking to the future, that's linebacker and defensive edge position. That's what they're going to need next year. But if they can solve that in the portal, or potentially, I think they're going to have to solve that in the portal. I mean, this team's going to be, dude. You look at this secondary now. The depth that they're building is incredible, and then the fact that they have Tim Lewis there, you know, really, you know, developing that scheme. You can see it throughout the year. They're only blitzing like 25% or less. Then that last game, they're up to like 40, 45% of the time. Like he's able to, the same way with, you know, Will Lawing, develop that playbook and to be more complex and develop that throughout the year. That's been super amazing to see. So you're just looking towards kind of the future, not to get too ahead of ourselves, but, you know, that defense being really to step up their game next year. And then the offense potentially, you know, going in there with at least a solid quarterback that understands the offense.
Right. And I think that is gonna really tell you the whole story. You know, having the entire offseason, he's gonna start filtering his own guys in, you know, and the guys that are already here are gonna have this entire year under their belt. So it's gonna make a world of difference, you know. And the fact that you are kind of seeing the level of play get turned up the past couple of weeks, I'd say the past 2.5 games. If you look at the Syracuse game, the SMU game, and UNC last week, like if you just look at the level of play and, you know, what they've been able to actually do in those games, just from like a eye watch perspective and just like product on the field, it's light years ahead of, you know, anything we've seen in the last decade. It's been good football, you know. That's all you can really, win or lose, you know. You want to be able to watch good football and, you know, be entertained by it, and, you know, just have hope, you know. It's kind of like for me, it's a lot of like hope and just really just you know, having faith that you're actually following and covering, you know, especially as reporters, you know, covering a team that's actually worth covering, which, you know, we both fully believe in and are passionate about and know what they're capable of doing. And now you're really starting to see it.
Straight up, man. The belief of, I mean, obviously it seems like we've had blind belief for the last 15 years, but now we're kind of finally having some belief with a little bit of evidence there, you know? And that's what makes you a little more like, okay, like it makes it easier to show up every day. and to kind of look forward to. But
Yeah.
you're just super. Again, credit to the coaching staff, but credit to the players for buying in. And like we said, these are all Halfley's guys, and the fact that he got all of them to stay, except that previous QB1, and then to like buy in and to like to be loyal to that and to have trust in Bill O'Brien and his coaching staff and the way he's built this program. Everything we've questioned, honestly, from day one, he's had an answer to.
Yeah.
Will Lawing, Tim Lewis, all these concerns at quarterback, all these concerns that like he's had an answer to, and especially in these last 2 games. And then it just proves to you how the professionalism and how much of a professional operation that him and Blake James and all the people at the leadership positions at the university have kind of bought into Bill O'Brien's mantra here, and they're literally earning it on the football field.
I'm kind of curious if in terms of like coaching staff, if they're going to continue, or I guess keep the current coaching staff this off season, because like a lot of them were late cycle hires. Bill O'Brien himself was a late cycle hire, so I'm just curious. I mean, based on the body of work, I'd say Tim Lewis and Will Lawing are fairly safe. I'm just a little curious as to like how that's going to go down.
Though, because I would say definitely 2 weeks ago, if you asked me, I was even concerned about Will Lawing and Tim Lewis.
Yeah, sure.
More maybe Will Lawing, to be honest. But now it's like that seems pretty safe now. Like you're pretty confident with that. I would say like it seems like some of the position coaches that like were left over from Halfley that he kind of clearly kept there for congruence and the key players. Like obviously, I think Thurin at special teams is a little unsafe. Like we have to see what happens there with his recruits. Like he obviously landed that Irish kicker, but like it seems to me like he might be going more ways with that. Like the leftovers from Halfley. You got to tip your hat to Tim Lewis coming in here and kind of like blowing me out of the water with. And this was before the last 2 games, kind of being consistent and working with what he had and getting the defense to play enough where they could have won all those games. I think consistently the defense did that. Like all of those losses really came down to the offense just not being able to perform at a consistent level. So the fact that the defense the entire year really put your team in a position to win speaks volumes to Tim Lewis. And then when you talk about Will Lawing, the fact that the last 2 games has just proven like Bill O'Brien's philosophy, and then him being able to really trust and believe in that. Yeah. They've been able, again, we've already talked about this, but being able to really develop that playbook and be able to do whatever he wants to do with technically a backup quarterback, and how they've been able to develop him limitedly. Again, Grayson was hurt in the offseason. He was hurt, at the beginning of the season. He's only started, 3-4 games.
Very limited reps.
Exactly. He's only been in the first team for like 3, 4, 5 weeks. So, again, Grayson, incredible. Lawing, incredible for doing that. So you're looking really, high on this coaching staff going into the offseason. And I probably expect some moves with some of the leftovers from Halfley. But as far as like the leadership positions, the high leadership positions, I'm happy with that, where we are right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll take our 5-second Bigelow tea break. We'll be right back. And we're back. Well, next episode, I should say, it'll probably be less than a week since we're recording on Wednesday. But we'll take like a real deep dive into basketball and the Cayman Islands.
We'll get Jack back on and into that.
Yeah, we'll have Beak's gonna come on too, he said. Which it sucks because I was texting with him earlier today, and then I typed out a text of like, what are your plans tonight? And then it was like 7:00, and I was like, "Oh, I never sent it," so he was busy, so he couldn't hop on tonight. But we'll get him next week. But what
I will say,
what a
they
what
are
a result!
6-1, man, and you didn't see that coming. We'll dive into that next week, but it's like not only 6-1, but to play in a tournament and to have last second shots and victories 2 games in a row. Grant, for all the criticisms that we have with him, dude, he got the team to buy in, and he's at the end of the day, they're winning games. So
yeah,
and to be clutch in those scenarios and to take down a really good Boise team. I think a top 40, in the KenPom, Boise State was. So
they beat Clemson by 13, so they're
exactly
pretty good.
So the fact that you were able to compete and then win that game speaks volumes. So yeah, excited to dive into that next week. But 6-1, man, that's I did not see that coming.
I didn't see it coming even close. You figure they win the first game, maybe that I can accept the squeak out of the second game.
Yeah, right.
I expected them to get their doors blown off in the finals.
Hey,
at least lose handily. Boise's good. Boise's a good team.
Boise's a good team. Like, how do they even compete, right? And then I'm like, I checked the halftime score, and I'm like, are we up right now? Like, what is happening? Like,
yeah.
And I'll be honest, man. I didn't have faith enough to even buy the Flow Sports thing, so I was just like watching the on my update. So that's where I was at, and then the fact that they kind of were able to get those victories is so cool, man. So great.
It's promising because it you really can make a case for yourself based in the early season out of conference stuff. If you can win 8 or 9 games in that, before you hit ACC play, if you're like 9-2, 8-3,
man, huge potential.
You're looking at a decent season.
You get to 7 wins this Friday against Dartmouth.
Yeah.
I mean,
7-1.
Damn.
And then South Carolina, which South Carolina actually, let me check because South Carolina is playing Virginia Tech right now, or they played them tonight. So that's kind of a game. That's like a barometer game. So South Carolina beat them by 10. That'll be a pretty good game.
What was a quick call for ACC basketball? Louisville destroyed Indiana, which
I don't know
if Indiana's a fraud team, but man, Louisville's just like we're sleeping on them, but like absolutely crushed them.
Absolutely throttled them. Like it wasn't even, they beat them by what, like 28 or something like that?
It was 89-61.
Yeah.
But that's why these tournament games at the beginning are super fun, man, because you got to see like kind of where you're at, okay, like the top 25 at the beginning seems so ridiculous. So it's like you see like them battle it out, and you're seeing like the fact that dude, UConn's sitting at 4-2, I believe, and BC's at 6-1. So
so I'm happy with it. All I really wanted out of this season and this team was like a fun competitive team that was gonna be in games and kind of make it for an enjoyable watch, and kind of I think this has always been a 2-year plan for them. I think it was always going to be kind of the build up for next year, and if you can kind of make this a more attractive option for like a transfer kid next year, then you're really sitting pretty. But anyway, like this is all gravy at this point. Like I don't, I think especially after they barely beat, Citadel to open the year, and I really wasn't sure like how the pieces were all going to fit together, and the rotations were real weird and wonky. And I'm looking at, these 4 guard sets, and just the fact that they have no size. They got no size and they got no skill down low. But they're playing away from that. So
playing winning basketball, finding a way, gritty and not pretty for sure.
Yeah.
Can't complain.
That's all you can ask for.
Yeah, dude.
That's all you can ask for, man.
And then Brett, I mean, I think we got to dive into obviously Pitt and preview them,
Yep.
but
Yep.
you know, we're on winning tracks around here. You got BC basketball winning. You got Boston College football. We've won a couple in a row here. You're feeling like you looked at those last two games you're a couple weeks ago, and you're like, man, are we going to get bowl eligibility? Well, that's out the window now, and now you're looking at potential again. Like I said, 7 wins for the first time since 2018, and I'm feeling, at least personally, really good about this. I know the team is. I know a lot of fans are. Pittsburgh 7-4. They're also 3-4 in the conference. They've had almost the opposite type of season. They started out incredibly, were ranked, and now they've lost 4 games in a row. And
they were 7-0.
This honestly might come down to the quarterback change. Their freshman Eli Holstein, who was starting for them at the beginning of the year, injured his leg. Last week's loss to Louisville. So it looks like Nate Yarnell is going to likely make the start at quarterback. So it's interesting there. You have that shake up for them. So that's kind of been, I think, a change for them in the last couple weeks. And then for me, the biggest thing to worry about for Pittsburgh is the running back Desmond Reed. He was actually a transfer from Western Carolina, basically running, or all-purpose yards, I should say, 150 yards a game. So he's definitely like their biggest production, on offense. So skill position and, ranked 5th nationally in all-purpose yards. So he's going to be what the defense is going to stop. But, you look at what they just did, against UNC, holding that team to 38 yards. You're feeling pretty confident, in this. Again, another home game. It's going to be another cold game. Pittsburgh, though, is going to show up. Unlike UNC did, they're a rough team. They're a Narduzzi team. Like they're not going to just come in here and kind of do like a walkthrough like UNC did. They're used to this cold environment, so that's going to be the thing to watch. I think BC was able to dominate on the line last game. I think this is going to be more of a competitive game on the line. But again, I'm feeling very positive with the way Tim Lewis has been able to crank up this defense. And then now for how much the offense is able to progress week to week, I'm feeling super positive about this, Brett.
Absolutely. We talked about it earlier, especially, with the trends throughout the season. And, there was obviously a little bit of a downtrend after a great start. But, the fact that they were able to kind of recover and recuperate says a lot more to me than a 6-5 record, and just the dominating fashion that they won the last game, and the fact that they're like really setting themselves up to, pull in, like you said, the first 7-win regular season in a while. 2018, did you say? Was that?
Yeah, since 2000.
Yeah.
That was when I think that was Cibadazio game day. They're 7-2, and then they lost the last 5 games, right? So it's for BC fans, man, not only to get to 7 regular season wins, but to end the season on such a positive. We haven't seen them end the season this positively since, again, early 2000. So this would be such a game changer to win the last 3 regular season games, to get to 7th win, and then to potentially go to a bowl and get your 8th win for the first time in 15 years. I mean, this is bigger. This is the biggest game at Alumni Stadium in a decade.
Yeah, easily. The ramifications of this game are absolutely massive, and it's all kind of set up to kind of go their way. Pitt's very much on a downward spiral. The quarterback that they have in there, let me pull it up. I pulled it up earlier. Let me see if I still have it up here, because it is
Yarnell.
pretty.
This will be his second start of the season, because I see he played in last week's loss to Louisville, and what I saw is he was very limited. He only threw 23 times, so he's 11 for 23 for 96 yards. So he played
the week before too. Did he not start that game? He was fucking.
He didn't start, but he came in that game. Yeah,
34 of 54.
Yeah, insane.
What the fuck is that? That's crazy.
Which is interesting, because it's like they seem a little bipolar on offense, and it seems to me
Yeah.
that they're trying things out these last couple of games. Like they've clearly gone down the wrong path. They feel like what we were a couple weeks ago, where we're just like nothing's clicking on offense. They're trying to figure things out. They're on a 4-game losing skid. So that's a nice thing for a team like that to come in here on a holiday week and to like not feel confident about their offense, right? And then you have again the BC defense, which is clicking all cylinders. Like take advantage of that. Hopefully it plays out that way. But you're feeling the momentum from these last 2 games, and you think the way that secondary has been able to step up. What thing to watch will be the turnover margin, because I think the way we lose a game like this is, I think Grayson James, he's been really good at protecting the football, but he's still a young guy, man. He's got very limited experience out there. So you're just hoping that he's not getting a little too confident, after last game and throwing getting a pick or two, limit those turnovers. So that's the biggest concern I'm looking into it. I would know, not that it's ever been a concern yet, but that's something I'm looking at. But Nate Yarnell had a pick last week too, so you're hoping the secondary can take advantage of that, so it can even out. And then it's a fun thing to note. Defensive coordinator Tim Lewis was a cornerback at Pitt in 1979, so he'll be playing against his former team that he played on.
His alma mater.
And then, unlike UNC, who we just beat for the first time, BC is 2-2 against Pitt, so pretty competitive north rivalry here. So again, it'll be a good win for the program to get, because
won the last 2. We beat him in 2019 to get bowl eligibility, then fired Adazio right after the game, and then we beat him on an extra point in 2020, extra point miss, I believe. In 2020.
True. Oh my God, I remember that. That was crazy.
Yeah. So let's win a third in a row.
What are we feeling here, Brett? We ready for predictions, or got any more tidbits about this matchup?
No, I think I got.
This feels like a feel it game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely a feel it. 34-17 BC.
Wow, that's very close to what I was thinking. Dude, I'm feeling a I don't know if you want to call it a blowout, but like I am feeling like they're going to be, I think BC is going to score 30 between 30 and 40 points. So I put them maybe around 38 points.
Okay.
Very similar last week, but I think they're going to even be able to make more plays and kind of expand that playbook a little bit more. That's really what I want to see there. Limit the turnovers, get to at least 30 points. I think this defense is going to be able to dominate the Pittsburgh. I know Pittsburgh's a really good team, but again, they're on the downturn. They're just trying to figure it out. And this defense is just clicking. And Tim Lewis is he's been the most consistent part of this entire team, I think, throughout the year. So I think that 38-17, I'm thinking on 17, the same thing, Brett. I think 38-17, BC's going to win. I think this defense is going to, keep them, off the field for most of this game. I think BC's going to dominate the time of possession. Yeah. I think they're going to be able to run on this team. And I think they're, now that we're balanced here, I mean, just pick your poison with this BC offense. Like this is the best the offense and the most balanced this offense has been since, the 2018, 2019. And even then, you probably actually have to go before Adazio to find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. At least not in the last couple of years, for sure. And I haven't felt like this good about the overall team, because like usually it's like with AJ Dillon, they were just strictly a running team. With Zay Flowers, it was strictly Zay Flowers, so it's like kind of nice to have like a like you said, like a balanced offense.
There is a turning point, I think, at the Syracuse game this year where you kind of the only thing that was working was the running game because you had an absolutely no passing game with Tommy. And I think the turning point was when, for Syracuse, what I felt was that, hey, this team can win more than just one way. That doesn't have to be, pound the ball, on the ground like Steve Adazio. Like this is what Bill O'Brien talked about, which again, he has an answer for every time there's a criticism, right? Like he wanted going into the season to be a balanced offense where people at alumni are going to want to come and watch them play. And then you saw that with at the UNC game when that long pass that he got to Reed Harris. I think that's the type of offense we're starting to see. Move in that direction. And they don't have to just run to win the game. They can now throw. They can be a little more balanced. There's different ways where they can win this game, whether that's time of possession, holding onto the ball and just rushing it, or going for those explosive plays, which we saw against UNC. So that's what's exciting about this, and that's where you have even more confidence about this team being able to put up points and then keep the other team off the field. With Tim Lewis especially out of the red zone or out of the end zone. So, again. Just how can you not be confident after one of the two best wins of the year, especially the best win of the year against UNC? I have all the confidence in the world. Everything's pointing to a good victory at home on Saturday.
Yeah, and the regular season on a high note, 2 wins, back to back. Again, it's pretty good teams too. It's not like they're bullshit.
Dude, solid top tier ACC teams, right? Like middle of the top pack ACC teams, like. These are the teams you have to beat, and I think these are the teams that we've always expected as fans to win, but for 10, 15 years, we just haven't consistently won these games. So it's like, end of the year, you're supposed to win these games, and that's what I expect. So you kind of if you're able to pull that off going into this offseason, you just have, again, I've said confidence a million times on this podcast, but you have all the confidence in the world going to that offseason, and then being able to sell that for Bill O'Brien to then sell that. It's a lot easier to sell something when you have a good proof of concept on paper. It's like, here's the product. The product is we got to 7 wins and we're exciting offense. Come play for us at the Power 4 level. You have a chance to make the playoff every year in this conference that if you do your job, you can win and maybe, get to an ACC championship game. So that's super attractive. With all the money that they're putting into facilities and the NIL now, that's kind of where I'm at, man.
Absolutely. And it's just, it's a good trajectory to be on, especially after year one, and kind of sets you up, like you said, for the future and, really send you into a long off season, with good, positive vibes, as opposed to negative. And that's all the difference in the world for recruits and transfer kids. It's all about kind of what the vibe is going around the program, at the end of the season. If you're able to use that and kind of catapult yourself into a better team next year, then that makes all the difference in the world. And we've seen it time and time again, because we've failed to do that, in the past. We've failed to kind of ascend on a better path to end the season. So, I think this game does have a lot more ramifications than just, a 7th win.
Huge.
I think it has a lot. There's a lot on the line. And Pitt, they were 7-0 at one point. So, don't want don't want to see them turn it back on, right?
But you're just what's exciting when you're talking about kind of the future here a little bit is that you're excited to see what type of player Bill O'Brien and his staff recruits. It's been amazing to see how he's gotten a lot of Hafley's guys to buy in. I mean, all of Hafley's guys to buy in. I mean, now that he's being able to pick the type of, not only the type of athlete, but the type of mentality that he's looking for, that he has got no concern that they're going to be able to work hard, and being able to mold them. I think that's going to be super interesting to see, not only the difference in talent, but also the difference in mentality and how quickly people can be developed in his system. So again, I think recruiting's everything, right? And like we haven't had a chance to see that, so I'm super excited about that in the offseason. But like we're saying, when it comes to this Saturday, that affects it in so many ways. Being able to sell that to recruits and going back, he talks to them every day. Being able to be like, hey, did 7-8 wins at the end of this year? That goes so far.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So there's a lot to look forward to. It doesn't really feel like it's going to be a letdown either. So I'm pretty positive about it, and especially either way. I'm not going to be too negative. It's just, I feel like it's nice to be here and to see that they've put themselves like in the position to have a game of this magnitude. At least they're not playing out the stretcher. At least they're not like 5-6 trying to just be bowl eligible or, whatever the case is. So,
and I hope the fans show up. I know obviously it's one of the hardest weekends because students are away.
Yeah,
at home,
for
but
sure.
It's going to be a sunny day. It's a 3:00 kickoff. So like, again, anyone in the area, like I'll be there. Like go check out the Alumni Stadium. It's beautiful in the fall. It's going to be cold, but the sun's going to be out. And
it's November.
Back that stadium, man. These players deserve the support here. And also, like when we talk about earn it, you can kind of earn it as a fan if you get like kind of like go and view this team now and kind of see them instead of just being a bandwagon when they're winning 8-9 games in a couple of years. Like you see the progression here. It's been so exciting for like people, for me and Brett in the media to see them kind of grow here. Like I know a lot of you hardcore sickos are just like, yeah, we've been watching forever, but it's like for Boston fans in general, if we, no one's playing on Saturday, after Thanksgiving. So like in the Boston area, come watch this game,
Yeah.
It'll be a fun time.
Absolutely. Nothing like the Black Friday, or it won't be Black Friday, but it'll be Black Saturday in Alumni Stadium. So any other final thoughts?
Just, happy Thanksgiving to the BC community.
Yep.
Super thankful for everything, BC, but also just episode 15, Brett, thankful for you too. This has been, we're here now, and it's been cool to see. I think our production's gotten a little bit better. Fans chime in,
better.
I think we've gotten better at covering this. Again, if you want to, like, I was reporting with interviewing Bill O'Brien today on Zoom and getting him to talk about some stuff. And I mentioned this before in the podcast, but he really understands college football in and out. So if you want to follow me on Twitter or go to Eagles Daily on Instagram too, I posted it there. It's really interesting to see, and we're trying to be hopefully more consistent with reporting these things, on whether it's Eagles Daily or Eagles Weekly. And so follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and then on YouTube as well. But it's going to be a fun ride here, I think, in the next coming years for this program. So go check that stuff out. And again, very thankful for everyone that's been following this, not only this podcast, but us and the program, because we could use all the support in the world, and it's going to be a fun ride.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. I'm super grateful for you too. I never could have imagined that this show would kind of get to where it's at least not this quickly. It's been so much fun, even through the kind of pains of the mid-season, it was, it's still been super enjoyable. And
dude,
we've barely begun, so it's been a good journey, and super grateful for and thankful for all the BC community as well. It's just there's not a pocket of human beings like it, I don't think. Everyone can stake their claim as the best or whatever, but I know that our people are just hands down the best, and
they're awesome, man.
So supportive, and they're so much fun to interact with, and just getting to like meet and talk to different people. It's that's what this is all about for me. More than anything, we share this crazy common interest, and it's been
right.
It's been a wild ride, but that's all I got too. That's a good way to end it. The the episode 15, the thankful episode. With that said, yeah, episode 15 in the books, and see you guys this weekend. Happy Thanksgiving and go Eagles.
Go Eagles. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.